All right, hey there, IOHL community. Soup Forever here. I'm here with DVets 10. The Buffalo Boys doing our little podcast.
Global.
Probably the first and maybe the only one that we do, but hey, we're here doing a
You
little
never,
playoff
you never
preview.
know. Maybe it'll pick up next season. Who knows?
Exactly. Um, yeah, let's start. Obviously, Buffalo Boys, we're gonna start with our own team. You're the owner of the team, so I'll let you kind of take it away. What were some, did you have any surprises or, were you happy with the team, how they performed throughout the
Well,
season?
I say before we go start with the playoff teams, just want to congratulate everyone for making the playoffs. It was a somewhat bumpy season, with all the folds and whatnot. But despite that, I do feel like the playoffs are potentially really, really good.
Yeah,
I see six, possibly seven teams, in my opinion. We'll get to that later. That
yeah,
can really win the whole thing if they get hot. Um, I want to shout out before we start on going through the teams, the remaining Calgary people, because Endo and Lefty were able to get them to play the last week after Stooley did Stooley things. So um,
holy,
big
yeah,
shout out to all those guys for showing up to their last games when they didn't have to because they were pretty much done. So um, also a shout out to Tampa for finishing their games. I know they were not mathematically eliminated until like the last night, but
yeah, they were
it
kind of
wasn't.
eliminated.
Yeah. Uh, Real J Money did a really, really good job pretty much running the team because Clutch was not available most of the night. So
Yeah,
big shout out to Real J Money for keeping them alive. Um, but yeah, if you want, we can just start. So I figure we'll do maybe like a team to team, just glance, and then we'll do a. Um, I don't. Do you want to do the awards next? Who we think should win awards, and then do the predictions and matchups last, or how do you want to do it?
yeah, we can summarize each team's season and then maybe, you know, talk about the awards and who we think are going to win it at the end of it, and then yeah, really get it set for the playoffs. So yeah, start with Buffalo. I mean, you drafted the team. What did you think how we did this year?
So I think we did well. Obviously, we were at the top of the standings most of the season. I think I was happy with the draft. I didn't expect, like usually I go into a draft expecting to trade half the roster because people don't, fit in with who I like and whatnot. But I think we only made one trade the whole season, um, and it worked out pretty well so far. Um, but everyone's pretty much melded together. As far as our locker room, we really haven't had any ego issues at all, which has been nice. Like dealing with the headaches as being in the staff room is enough, and then having a team like that would be too much. But the team really helped. Everyone was mostly reliable. We had the last couple of weeks, everyone was kind of burnt out. They're like, dude, when are we just getting to playoffs? And we had a lot of subs come in, and we kind of fell out of that first place seat. It looks like because of it, but it's whatever. You got to play anyway. So, but I think we have a really solid squad. I think I will say I do like the late drafts we did. I think it kept the parity really well. And then I don't necessarily agree with the RA system after because a lot of teams got way better just on pure luck.
Yeah,
Um, us in Minnesota were pretty much the teams that got shafted in that area. Um,
yeah,
but we both were able to stay up in the standings. I think we were the most consistent team through the year. Um, and I think I can't say it now because most teams do have a pretty good second line now that can be first line potentially. But at least for the first half of the season, we had two lines that were outscoring top lines. Everyone kind of caught up because of the RAs and some good trades and whatnot. But um, it's even. Like I said, there's like 6, 7 teams that can win, in my opinion. So um, as
yeah,
far as like team MVPs, we had a lot of guys score a lot of points. Um, can't really point out anyone who was like above and beyond, but I think honestly, you were probably the steal of any draft I've ever had in my life. We got you in like the ninth, 10th round, whatever it was. Barrett was like, dude, pick up Soup. He's solid. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know anybody else anyways.
Yeah.
Um, and you pretty much slotted right into our first line.
Well, I had a lot of friggin' help from from Josh and Float. I just had to get to the net and put the puck in the net. But I mean, yeah, it was a good season. Yeah.
If anyone on our team is getting a Selkie nod, it's probably going to be you because we gave up a lot of goals too, but we scored a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but just our philosophy, like you said in a post you made earlier in the year, it's just like we're just going to score more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to translate in playoffs, but we'll figure it out. But I would say you definitely Bush Latte. We got him. That was a really good pick, and like I think it was the fourth or the fifth round. Just a solid D man, and he's always available. With my work schedule, I can't really show up. 2 nights a week, and he's always there. He was even running the show when Rebel wasn't there and whatnot. So huge help from Bush. Other than that, I mean, forwards, defense, solid. A lot of people make fun of our defense. Like, you guys don't have any defense. It's like we have me, Barrett, Disney is greedy, and Bush Latte as our top four. It's like
Disney was a
where are
huge
you guys
pickup.
going? Just because we've given up a lot of goals doesn't mean that I mean it's playoffs. People are going to care now, So um, I'll put our top or our four D men up against pretty much any D. Um, so that's pretty much it. I don't want to go too much about our team.
Yeah, I think people are already getting a little tired of us talking about us. So, like we can move on. But I mean,
you can always cut it out too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, I guess to reiterate what you've been saying, I mean, yeah, having Lethal on that second line being like a top 5 point getter in the league as a I guess not even as a really second liner, that line was just as good as our first line. So, we've had a lot of production from all across our lineup. So, I'm
Yeah,
really pumped going into playoffs.
the last point I do want to make too is I feel like teams did take us seriously through the most of the season, and I feel like I don't know if it's just my bias, but we got first lines like every single game we played. It seemed like we didn't really have a break. Like I feel like teams are throwing their first lines at us a lot, and both of our lines were able to obviously look at the record, keep it together. But yeah, that's it. I don't want to talk too much about our team.
All right, so I think you got the standings ahead of you. What team do you want to talk about next? Maybe Vancouver, the guys that have been at our heels.
Um, do you want to go like top to bottom or bottom to top, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we could go top to bottom. We're talking about Buffalo at the top, I guess. So yeah, just some quick
Okay,
notes about them. Yeah, Vancouver.
so we'll go to Vancouver next. Vancouver had obviously a solid season. It looks like since I'm doing the podcast, I can't really see. Hopefully, it'll pop up on my computer. But they're playing Chicago now, the last makeup of the season. If they win, they beat us on a tiebreaker for top seed,
Yeah,
um, which looks like they should based on their or who the lineups were. But you never know. Um, but Vancouver, I think they were like 500 after the first week or two. Um, and they really obviously picked it up. I don't think they lost more than 3 games the last 3 weeks. Um, Looking at their lineup, it's kind of similar to ours, where they have two really good forward lines. It looks like they have a lot of points, not necessarily as much as us, but goals for. I think they were like right on our heels.
yeah.
Um,
They had a
in the
good
league.
gill differential too. They didn't give up too many compared to
Yeah,
us.
their differential was a lot better. They were smoking teams.
Yeah,
So Bergie, first time owner, congrats, keeping the team together. Definitely a candidate for owner of the year. Um, his philosophy was a little different this season. They had I think 14 or 15 guys active roster, which is not normal. Usually you just have your 12 and then put TCs in when you need it. But they had the depth. Um, they made a really good trade for Azkika for Sergeant Sketchy and Picard, which I feel like wasn't a fair trade, but that's not, we'll not go through that. But and then I feel like they have Bergie was one of the only people who actually messaged me as far as what they wanted to go over. He wanted to shout out Schlarchi for being who he thinks is the MVP of the league. Had a great season, had a lot of points. His plus minus is huge. Um, he likes people to know that he's not just a cherry picker like most of us, including myself, think. But yeah, looking at the stats, he had a great season. He is kind of difficult to play against. It seems like he's got the puck always on a stick, one of those lucky players that can't get rid of it, but it's not obviously all luck. Maltese, his GM, solid. They had it's kind of a similar situation to us. They had two lines where their second line was scoring more points than a lot of teams' first line. Yeah. The big thing for Vancouver, like I said, I think they were just a little bit over 500 halfway through the season, and then they exploded. What really, really, really helped was the not just the late drafts, but that RAs, the random assignments due to teams folding and late signups. They got so lucky, like they more lucky than any other team by far. They got Semp and they got Trash Panda. As just a RA handed to them, like talk about a gift from the gods. Yeah. You got two NHL/AHL players there. You got Azkicker, who's an NHL/AHL player. And then Bergie wanted us to know that Sir Shackleton, that was the other guy he wanted to shout out, was fantastic this season. Stats are great. Just as a stay-at-home D-man, kind of letting the other guys on the team score. So in my opinion, they are probably the team to beat over us. I think they're with the help of the RAs, they are the team to beat. Before that, I didn't think so, but I mean, you can only do so much. Just go out and play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, they really came at our heels. It didn't seem like they were really that close in the past couple of weeks, but they've had a monster last few games. Yeah.
You can't as an owner, and you can't make any excuses. You got to go out there and just play. You can't just, oh, they got this, they got that. It's whatever. Do what you got to do. Yeah. So Vancouver is tough. They're tough. They're going to be very good.
So move on to, I think Minnesota's got the 3 seed.
Minnesota's got the 3 seed. So I think a couple of people preseason were put them low. I don't know why, because Pothead and Earth always have a top 3-4 team. And again, they were there. They were the team actually at the top of the standings, right ahead of us after the first couple weeks. I think we passed them after week 2, but they were the other team besides us that didn't really get that big stud in the RA pool. And they still came out, like 2 points behind us. So, I mean, 1st through 6th, and especially like 2nd through 6th was only differentiated by like 3 points. So, but okay, so we're going through Minnesota. So Pothead, Earth, and Trap or Glizzy Goblin management. Their plus minuses aren't as huge. They don't score as much, it doesn't look like, but when you play them, you can just tell. Like I said this at the beginning of the season, they play together way more than pretty much any other team in this league. So they have the chemistry. They play good, sound defensively, like a trap almost kind of defense. I think Pothead had said to me that he wants to put Trap up for the Norris. And then what really, really helped them was All-Star Bear in net. This dude is, Pothead said it, and I agree with him. There's no one even close for the Vezina, in my opinion. This guy, his save percentage was over 80%, which in NHL 21 seems like almost impossible. But and he's given up like under 2.5 goals a game, maybe even under. I don't know, ridiculous. Like this dude was by far the best goalie in the league. And I think when we lost to them, he straight up stole it. So huge to have a goalie that can steal you games in the playoffs. Remax guy had a great season. Dubes had another good season. He's always solid. I think what could be their potential downfall, if we want to nitpick, is their defense, like their depth at defense. You got Trapp holding it down, and then I think they got Senior Wheat, Jay, Neoblood, and I don't even I think Trapp told me that Heroic Frost, or he goes clutchless now, is their other D-man. I'm like,
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Um, I'm not sure what they're gonna do like second line D, but what helps them is that their forwards play really, really defensively, so they're not really leaving them out to dry. And they've always played like that. Pot did say he wants Earth nominated for Selke because he always does play really good defensively.
hmm.
Um, and I think people sleep on these guys, and they always sleep on them. And I don't know why, because they're always like in the conference finals. So, um, people are like they don't have the most talent, but they're always there. So um, they're a contender. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if you
think
want.
I think NHL 21 is, it's definitely one of those games where you got to play as a team. Like if you're kind of all just a single player, you're going to get exposed. So I think this has been a perfect season for them. Like they played well together. It seems like everybody's getting their fair share of games, and they just play really well together. I noticed that when we play them. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
always usually lowest scoring, right? Like,
yeah.
we had the one game where it was like a 9-8 game, which was crazy. But other than that, um, it's close. And for real life and for virtual hockey, it gets more defensive in the playoffs. Like people start caring more. So
Right.
that kind of coincides with their style of play.
All right. Fourth team. Who is it? I think we got New York. The
Yeah. Just to interject, I got a DM from Bergie. They did beat Chicago, so
Okay.
Vancouver is going to be the top seed.
All
Um,
right.
we're
So
going to be two.
we're gonna be taking on Chicago. All right. So we'll go on to New York Rangers. Holy, that first line just absolutely dominated this season. So many points. 278 combined between the three of them. Like that's looking at like Melvin, AG,
Right.
Volcom type numbers. So, great job for them. They really propelled them into the fourth spot. They're going to be really interesting series against New Jersey. There's already a rivalry kind of starting there. We'll talk about that playoff series a little later. But New York, what did you think about them this year?
Um, so they're pretty much finished where I thought they would finish. I mean, standings wise, you can say, oh, they're fourth, but like I said before, everyone was within 3 points anyway. So um, Kong and Pizza Romo have been out of the league, I think, for 3 or 4 seasons. I remember them and they've always been up at the top. So I knew if they could adjust NHL 21, which it looks like they have, they would be, a good team. And here they are. Um, Pizza Romo, Hexagon, Langtot, they that's like their line. They've played together before in the league too. So I mean, they got their chemistry. Um, I think Pizza Romo is possibly the front runner for the MVP. He scored the most points, um, albeit he did play the most games, but like points per game, he wasn't the highest, but he was like 10 points ahead of the guy on our team, Flowed. Um, he was the only person over 100 points this year. Um, his plus minus is 54. I'm looking at it right now, and then the other guys on his line are in the 30s or 27. So
Wow.
um, even when he plays and they don't, he still carries the team. So if that's not MVP, I don't know what is. I think he's probably going to win it. That's who I would most likely vote for, unless I do some like analytics. But um, their first line, solid, can beat anybody. Their second line, it is improved. It's better. Like I think their second line was kind of like horrible when the season started, but they got GVNB, um, and that helps a lot. And they got Donks. I think they might switch Donks around onto the first line with the other guy, either Hexagon or Length. I'm not sure. I haven't really paid too much attention, but they now have a second line that can win games. but I do think their second line is probably their weakness, if anything. And then maybe their defense. I know their defense is solid. Like everyone's got a good team now. Like it's way better than after their original draft. Just say that about everyone. But if we're nitpicking every team's, but I think Fire Phoenix and Wolfie's their top pair. Fire Phoenix is like my favorite person in the league. He's like the nicest Frenchie I know. I love him to death. I really wanted him. But and then I think their second D pair is Maddie Snipes, and I'm not really sure looking at it. Maybe they were doing like a 3-man rotation, but I think that might be their weakness. I'm not too sure who their fourth D man is looking at it. Maybe Canada JD. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, definitely the strong suit of that team is that first line. I'll be interested to see if in a 7-game series they split it up, like you were maybe mentioning, maybe putting Pizza Romo on his own line since he can carry. But they're going to be really in tough against a New Jersey team. I think if you're all done with New York, we slide over to the New Jersey Devils. Yeah, what did you
Yeah,
think of them? I mean, they have self-proclaimed the best 2 lines in the whole league. So,
right.
uh,
Yeah.
you know,
I think they've
which
been delusional all season, but what can you
yeah,
say? Um,
exactly. I know they play a lot of them play on that Victoriaville LGCHL team together, so they have a lot of chemistry. Um, I mean, they had a good season. I mean, a lot of people wrote Silky off at the start just because he won the international tournament, but I mean, here he is in the middle of the playoffs. So, what did you think about them?
um, so I was one of those people. I figured they would definitely be a playoff team, but I thought that they would kind of struggle, being that the international tournament last season was like kind of a joke as far as like skill wise. Um, and this season was a pretty decent improvement. It's not like the most skilled season we've had, but I thought that they might have struggled, but they didn't really struggle at all. I mean, they were 13-2. They didn't really score too much, but they're kind of like Minnesota, in my opinion, where they play together a lot. They play good team defense, um, and they don't really shoot themselves in the foot a lot. Um, I think before the RAs, they were screwed. I thought that they were definitely going to be like losing in the first round. Um, but they got Tibby and Skoden, who would pretty much Tibby's been the Norris winner here like 5 seasons in a row,
Yeah.
and Skoden would be a first line D man on at least half the teams. So I mean, if so, I talked to Tibby. I've talked with him a little bit. He was pretty adamant about wanting to play forward only, but if he plays, I'm sure he will play defense for them in the playoffs. That's going to help them a lot. I don't think they really have that much firepower. I know Moose Balls is solid. Um, Red Sox is okay. Pasta's okay. I don't see much as far as firepower. But like I said, most of the time, it's a defensive game in the playoffs, which kind of suits their style. Um, I do want to say, just at least shout out this DTG on their team, their D man. He had 23 games played. He had 22 points, solid, and his plus minus was 37.
Oh,
Everyone else on the team, the highest was 21. So I think I've played with him maybe once or twice, but he, in my opinion, looks like he should be at least a Norris candidate, um, especially on a team that didn't score a shit ton, where the D-man stats get kind of padded.
yeah.
So I'd like to shout him out just looking at it, for having a great season. Oh, and they also got Naslund, I think, as an RA too. I don't know if they got Skoden in the draft or if it was an RA, but if they got a lot of help
Yeah.
from that too.
Yeah, and shout out their goalie Varlamov. He's had a good season. I think he's put himself in the Vezina candidacy. I know his save percentage is pretty high up there, and he's won a
Yeah,
lot of games for them.
79, which is
Yeah,
solid. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
yeah,
I do think they chirp. I mean, everyone chirps, but I don't know where it's coming from. They're saying they have the 2 best lines in the league. And I don't see it, but um, maybe they can prove us wrong. I think that the New York and the New Jersey series, we'll get to it later, but I definitely think that's probably going to be the best series in the first round.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. Okay, yeah, I'm excited to get to the previews. Let's get to number 6. I think it's my old team for a hot minute, the Florida Panthers. Um, yeah, what did you think of them? I know they had not management issues, but I think Koopa and Spider couldn't really make all the games. I know Koopa only got in, a handful over the whole year. So good job for them to keep the train on the tracks and get into the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Is Walshy missing games a benefit or a harm to them now?
Exactly. Well, they've had my favorite liar, who's shout out to him. He's up there in the Vesna candidacy too. Yeah, what have you seen about them? Sizzle has been absolutely on a tear for hits. He's going to win that Chuck Norris Award. So, I mean, they
Is he?
they got a
I didn't. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he's up
yeah
there.
200 plus. Jeez.
I think he's 50 above anyone else. So,
Yeah.
um, so
I think they're
Florida
pretty,
was
sorry, I think they're pretty similar to Devils and the Wild. Like they play good team defense and kind of everybody does their part.
right. So Florida is my surprise of the year.
Okay.
Um, I thought that they were going to be now everyone's record's kind of skewed because of like the three folds. So you're seeing a lot of teams with like high like they're 32-13 in the sixth place, um, which wouldn't probably have happened if you didn't have three teams fold. But um, that being said, they still had to win, go out and win their games. So surprise of the year to me as far as a team. I didn't think that they were going to have that good of a record. Just looking at their roster, um, they've been middle of the standings as far as playoffs since the beginning. They um, Looking at their roster, I honestly don't really see how their record is that good. It's not like a huge knock on them because obviously they do play well as a team. But Sando, solid. He's a stud in this league. Um, One of my best buddies. He's been on my management before, and it was really, really hard not taking him in the first round. And when they did, um, he only had 19 games played, which is kind of perplexing because he's definitely their best player. Um, Sizzle has always been a solid player. I don't agree with how he plays because he just throws turds on constantly and they always seem to go in. But he gets the job done, every year he gets it done. Other than those two, I don't really feel like they have like a first line player, whereas a lot of teams have like four or five. Um, Carnage is okay on D. Cricket was probably their best acquisition. I think that was in the draft. Um, Lambo's their AGM. He's okay. Rez is okay. Yates, he's okay. Like they have a lot of players that are just like, and they're okay,
Yeah, kind of
Um,
role players, yeah.
um, when I said I thought six teams had the chance to win the cup, I was discluding Florida and Colorado. Um,
Okay.
but maybe Florida can make a run. I'm not sure. I always want to start a little chirping and arguments in the chat from these podcasts. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, but I think they'll just be in tough against Minnesota. I mean, I think Minnesota just plays clean defense that, any offense that they are going to generate, it's going to be tough. And then Minnesota's just going to score enough to beat you, I think.
yeah, I don't see how they beat Minnesota. I think they might take it maybe to 6 games, but um, I really don't see them beating Minnesota.
All right, enough about Florida. We go to the 7th seed. Our matchup, as we just found out, the Chicago Blackhawks. An interesting team. I mean, they had an all right start, and then they get AG kind of midway through the season, who just kind of seems to revitalize the franchise. And now they're out chirping us, saying they want to play us. It's like, oh, this is going to be an interesting series here.
Yeah, Heisman said last night, he's like, we're throwing out a TC line because we don't want to play Vancouver in the first round. And I'm like, well, you want to play us? And he's like, yeah, we match up way better. I'm like, talk about a slap in the face. But so Chicago is my probably most improved team since other than Vancouver. But Chicago is definitely um, the other than Vancouver, they were the RA horseshoe up their ass winners. Um, they got Poppy, which AG, sorry, probably the best player in that RA pool, and they also picked up in the late drafts that we had before that. They got Young Buffalo, and they got Tribe, um, which really kind of gave them um, a second line option now too. Whereas they were like kind of they had one okay line, and even then, it's like I think after the draft we said, yeah, they drafted all these D men, but where the hell is their offense? Um,
Yeah,
and
now they
now they
got
have
it.
yeah they got Teglia in a trade, I think. Um, they
Yeah, I
got Young
think.
Buffalo, who is I've played with him a lot because he's been on my teams for a couple seasons, back in I think NHL 19 or something. But he's always been one of the most defensive centers I've ever played with, and obviously that helps for a playoff kind of scenario where you want to have you don't want to give up rushes. Um, and then he doesn't even really have to when you have Poppy pretty much coning my ass. Um, he made me look so bad this season, um, to where you
Yeah,
have a guy or two on their team now that can generate offense on their own. Um, and they Kuzvechkina, whatever, Vrana is what I still call him, but he's a solid player. Their defense, they got Cavi, who's a Norris candidate for sure.
yeah,
He might win it. He might not. I don't know. Um, you got CNS, you got Dempsey, you got Tribe. Um, so they're a well-rounded team. Honestly, I'm scared to play them. I think they have a legit chance to beat us if
yeah.
we don't get our lines to where I think we need to be as far as like making sure people can play. They are a scary team. They can win the cup. Like I could see them going on a run. Um, Heisman, I give him credit. He really made the team. I mean, like I said, he was helped by some really good luck, but you still have to perform after you get the luck. So kudos to them. I think they're a solid team.
Yeah, and if they find a way to get past us, then they got to get through Vancouver. Like it won't be an easy road if they want to win that cup. But I mean, I think they got the team. They got a lot of NHLers. They look like they could possibly pull up some upsets here.
Yeah, they're scary. They're scary. Their first line's scary. Um, and then we have Colorado last, right?
Go to Colorado, finishing it out. Yeah, I don't know too much about this team. I know Loyal and Natsu are on there now with the trade that we made, but they've always kind of seemed to give our first line a good game. Like I don't know, they've been kind of high scoring, but they're always within one or two. So I mean, Vancouver, that's a tough team to play. But I mean, they have two lines that can go out there and at least compete. So they could maybe turn some heads and win a couple games against Vancouver. What do you think?
So I know these guys pretty well, but I've been in the league, for a while. But
Right.
Pat Head and Trump, they're usually owners themselves. They joined together. I think they were together for the international season too. But
Yeah.
um, so they were kind of my disappointment of the season, because usually they're at least in the middle of the standings to the highest. They know what they're doing. They might not be the most talented management group, but um, every season after season, Pat Head especially knows how to make his team better um, through trades and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the trade we made with them, we got Disney and they got Natsu and Loyal. It honestly, I think it benefited both teams a lot. because they got two players that they can solidly play, and we got that last D-man that I wanted. But looking at Natsu's stats, I mean, he's played well for them. Um, he's played 11 games for them with 18 points and a plus minus of 12, when most of their players are negative. So he's done well for them, which is great. You know, it's nice to see a trade work out for both teams.
Yeah. And I think Loyal's done pretty well too. Glanced at his stats. I think
Mhm.
he's up there too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean maybe a shift in culture there. Like I mean, if he's plus 12, that means they're starting to get the differential there and winning some more games.
yeah. Loyal was -7. I'm looking at it now, but he was 28 points in 10 games.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
looking at they don't score a lot of points. Like the top, Green is the top guy on their team with 39.
Yeah,
So like I mean, our second line had, I think everyone was above that, but so they don't score a lot. Um, but Loyal's a solid player. Like he just didn't really fit in with our scheme.
yeah,
Um, it was sad to see him go. Like I like him as a dude. I have no ill will against him at all.
yeah. Great dude.
Um, but looking at the rest of their roster, so they, I think this is one of the other two teams that doesn't really have a chance. It's going to be a huge mountain to climb over Vancouver. That being said, I do think they have maybe like a 5-10% chance, only because they did make a trade where they got Iggy and they got Kirby Doc, who's had like 100 gamer tags, but I know he's been on my team before. Um, Iggy's an NHLer. Um, I don't think that trade should have went through either, but we won't go through that now. Um, um, but you know, with Iggy, with Loyal, with Kirby, with Uzi Snipe, with Green, maybe if they stack their lines and they get some puck luck, you know, they might,
Maybe.
maybe.
Maybe. Exactly.
Um, you know, as like the lowest seed in the league, just going through the last several seasons, they're not the worst lowest seed. You know,
Right.
um, they know how to play. It's just are they going to be able to beat Vancouver
Yeah.
in a series, not just one game, but you know, in a 7 game series.
Yeah. Definitely an uphill climb for them. Do you want to talk about Calgary, Tampa, or just get on to the award predictions?
I don't know. I don't think any people probably aren't going to watch this anyways, but um, I say let's just go to the awards if you want to start.
Sounds good. All right, so some things that we already know. Art Ross, obviously going to Pizza Romo, he had 100 plus points. I think he had 107. Flode was the next closest, but I think he was still a few away. Just didn't play enough games. But congrats to him. I mean, he played a lot of games, but carried that Rangers team. Chuck Norris Award for the most hits is going to Sizzle, also by quite a bit. What were you saying, 50? By like 50 plus. I know he had like 200.
Yeah, yeah, at least 40.
Jesus. So good job for him. And then obviously, as we just found out, the President's Trophy going to Vancouver. Congrats to them. Great second half. All right, now we get to some predictions. I'll say mine first, just because I don't know too much, and then you can add on, whatever picks you think. So, Hart for the MVP of the league. I'm going Pizza Romo or Leggy Josh or Schlarchi. I don't know who I'd pick between those three, but Schlarchi seems like the best player in terms of guys we've faced. He just seems like he's been the most effective out of anybody that I've faced this season. Like you said, the puck just gets magneted to his stick. Josh, playing with him all year, he's obviously amazing. He can score from anywhere on the ice. And then obviously Pete Romo leading the whole league in points. That's nothing to shy away from. But do you have anybody to add, or what do you think?
Well, it's kind of hard because the stats page doesn't really give you, it only gives you like the top 10 or 15 people.
Right.
And then just kind of going through the rosters as we were talking. I think Pizza Romo is probably your front runner by a decent margin. Um, like we said earlier, his plus minus looks like it's the highest in the league. And he's played more games than the other guys on his line, so it's not like he's just doing it with his top line.
Right.
Um, Flaggy Josh, I wouldn't probably put in the conversation just because he didn't play enough games.
Fair. Yeah.
Um, I would probably put Flode above him in the ranking, but that doesn't mean. I mean, they're both fantastic players, and I love having and both of them on the same line is disgusting. Um,
And I
Clark
guess
Chief,
a little bit is to be said that, Buffalo, we scored a lot of goals in general, and like our team was just good all around. So that definitely complemented Josh and flowed for most of the season.
right? Yeah,
So
it's when you got a team that scores that much, and that goes for both us and Vancouver. It kind of dampens the effect of guys having a lot of points because everyone has a lot of points, so it's hard to pinpoint somebody
right.
that really helped. But Bergie thinks Schlarchi was definitely the focal point. Um, so he's definitely probably at least a candidate, a nominee. Um, so Pizza Roma for sure, Schlarchi. Um, I think on Florida, Sando Sparks. I know he doesn't have the points, but he's a difference maker for that. Like when we played them, he's like the only guy generating anything. He should be on for the Selkie too. Um, other than that, I'm not. We would have to actually go through each team and actually look at analytics. But just off the top of my head, that's who I would put in there.
Yeah, I think we got the majority of the candidates. Yeah, all great players, whoever it goes to, congrats to them, but we'll find out. You talk about Sando, let's go to the best defensive forward. I definitely have him there as mine. Um, just 94 takeaways is the biggest thing that I saw. I mean, I think that leads the whole league. I'm also going to shout out Moose Balls. I don't know. I think he like, he seems to clamp whenever we're playing against him. I know last year or last season for Czech Republic when we played them with Kazakhstan, he just like I couldn't get past him. But he had stats to show it. New Jersey had the lowest goals against out of any team this season. And he was a plus 15. So, shout out to him. I don't know if he's going to be a nominee, but he would be my dark horse. I agree with you. I think Sando or the guy in Minnesota has a chance to win it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it says you got to give the guys the nod on the teams that play the best defense, like team defense year round. And they're like the focal point of that. Like you can't really give any of us on our team because our team defense wasn't that good. We gave up a shit ton of goals. You know,
Yeah.
uh, a lot of that was probably because we were up by a lot and then didn't care in the third period. But it's just different mentalities, and those teams that have that throughout the whole season, it caters to them more in the playoffs.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, definitely Sando. Definitely, I like Moose Balls. I like Earth. Um, Other than that, like you said, we would have to probably go through more rosters and look at giveaway takeaways and whatnot.
Yeah. Go to Vesna. Vesna, the goalie of the year. I agree with you. I think All-Star Bear. I think it's his award to lose at this point. Like I think
I
he's
don't
locked
even
it
think
up.
anyone else could get any votes.
No,
Like,
yeah, no, I think
he might be
he's
nominated, but there's no way anyone else could even come close.
yeah.
Um,
To shout out a couple other ones. I mean, my favorite liar in Florida. He's been great. Varlamov. We touched on him in New Jersey. He's been good. And then I did a media event kind of halfway through with I had Zumek going as like maybe a possible candidate. He had a good year, but obviously Vancouver management didn't think so.
yeah, no, that was puzzling. They sent him down, and he's voiced his displeasure.
He
Um,
has.
but I don't know. Maybe that'll be a chink in their armor to where
Yeah.
they got guys pissed off at them, and then if they need somebody to sub, they might just tell them, a big this.
Yeah.
So,
If you had to, so if you take All-Star Bear out of the equation, if you had to give like a number two, who do you think's been the second best goalie in your eyes?
um, it's this stat site is all screwed up, but um, I would say my favorite liar. It looks like Golden Aces on New York's got some good stats. Um, that the dude on New Jersey's got good stats. I don't even know what the hell his name is,
I
but
think it's Varlamov, but it's like Russian language,
yeah,
so
I don't.
yeah, I'm not gonna try.
Um, but I think that's All-Star Bears to lose.
Yep. Norris Defenseman of the Year, Norris Trophy. I think you have a shot at it. I think you and Barrett played really well together this year. We mentioned Cavi before. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'll let you take this one. I those are my three nominations: is you, Barrett, and Cavi. But
Um, well, like I said, Tibby, when he's played full seasons, he's pretty much won, I think, literally the last four that he's been in.
yeah,
Um, so that opened it up this season. I think Cavi got one in there somewhere though. Um, but for sure, Cavi is a nominated nominee because his team doesn't score too much, especially the first half of the season, and he's got 33 points in 18 games. Um, what might hurt him? He's got a -6.
right, yeah,
He's got a lot of giveaways, but I know he's probably having to play more offensive for their team. Um, but so he's definitely up there. I think I had said DTG should get a nomination just based on his stats alone.
yeah,
Um, from New Jersey, like I said, he significantly better than like pretty much everyone on their team as far as plus minus. Um, you have Trafford, who had a solid season in Minnesota. Um, on like looking at the stats, King Natsu in Colorado, like he had a great season just stats wise.
yeah,
Um, you have Fire Phoenix possibly in New York. He didn't have many points. He's a super defensive defenseman. You love having that on your team, especially for playoffs.
right,
Um, he was a plus 24. He had a lot of hits. Just a solid defensive defenseman. He had a lot of good defenseman stats this year. And you had brought up, I don't know why it doesn't show up on the stats page, but and then you have on our team, me and Barrett are probably going to get nominated.
yeah,
I don't want to talk too much about our team as far as awards, but
right,
um, like just looking at it, I had the most points, but I also had 7 more games played than Cavi. My plus minus was 22. Um, Barrett, I do want to shout out Barrett for playing defense this season because he's usually a center.
yeah,
He's always said he wants to play defense, but based on our draft, he had to play defense. And he only played 3 games at center. Everything else is all defensive points, and he had a great season. I think the only thing that might really hurt us is people are going to look at how many goals we gave up um,
right.
and see like, are they really playing good defense? Um, you can attribute that to the either the D man or the team as a whole. But I think Norris is probably the most open as far as who can win it. Every other award seems like you have at least a front runner, but the Norris, I don't think there's a front runner.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, I mean, he's kind of been not overthrown isn't the right word, but yeah, not overthrown, but overlooked. Sorry, Disney. I mean, he's not you or Barrett in terms of the point, but he's like seems like he's a point per game. And the games that I've played with him in the second half of this season, he's just been locked down. He makes a good first pass. Like I mean, I think he deserves a shout out too.
Yeah, I think what hurts him was that he was on Colorado the first half of the season and they were not playing well. So his stats probably look worse than they should be. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's what I said. People make fun of our defense, and then it's like, oh, do they have 3 guys up for the Norris? Like, it doesn't even make
Yeah,
sense.
I don't get it. Okay, Calder Award. I don't really know any rookies. Do I count as a rookie? I don't know. I was
I
thinking
don't
about
know
that.
because you were owner last season. I know that was like an international season, but
Yeah.
um,
So I don't know. I don't know anybody that's it's their first year. I
I,
know.
I
Yeah.
think I don't want to talk about that too much right now because I don't know
Right.
who's a rookie. We would have
Yeah.
to get a list. Like maybe we can get a list of who was rookies and then go over it. But um, I I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
No, me neither. All right. Final award will go to owner of the year. I think you're up for it. I think Bergie's up for it. Um, I think Stooley is 100% up for it. Um, no, but I
I just
think
want to say to anybody still that would still be watching this, if you in any other leagues you're in, please go ahead and tell all the admins to never allow Stooley to even be in their league. Like no one deserves to have to go through that crap.
very well said. Yeah, but I mean, what other owners do you see, like, outside of you and Berger? I think you guys got to be the favorites just because you're top of the league. You had drafted really good teams. Yeah, what do you think?
Hold on, let me look at the team as a whole just to give it an idea. Um, well, I want to commend all the teams that are still left because there was a lot of problems this season, but 95% of the problems were from the teams that are gone.
Yeah,
You had a lot the Vegas, the Dallas, the Calgary, the just giant shit shows. And then, but everyone left in the playoffs, there was like no problems at all from any of these teams. Like they just got their games in, did their business, didn't have to complain about anything. So, the 8 teams left. Congratulations. Everyone on these teams did a good job as far as getting their teams together. But looking at it, I would definitely shout out Heisman because they, like I said, they weren't that good at the beginning, and they came out of it to being a contender. Um, I think Walshy deserves some credit for getting his team to a record with what I think is probably the least talented roster in the playoffs. Um, you know, I can make a case for everyone. Pothead's
right.
always got a solid team. Kong, no problems, runs his team well. Silky, he exceeded our expectations, I think. Um, and I don't know. That's kind of up in the air too. I
Well, I
think
think,
that'll be an interesting vote.
yeah. That's kind of all I have for awards. I mean, we could touch on the Stanley Cup or Conn Smythe winner if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not going to vote ourselves because I don't want to be too cocky. I think a favorite going into it has got to be Vancouver and Schlarchi being the Conn Smythe. I think a lot of people kind of have that. But do you have anybody to add there?
Um, like I said earlier, I think Vancouver's the favorite.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, I think six teams legitimately have a shot. Of those six, I would put Vancouver, us, Chicago, uh, and maybe New York in the top four. But and I don't think Minnesota, New Jersey uh, will have the firepower, but they can easily win it too. Um, but I don't know. I can't give you if I would not bet on this if I was a betting man.
No, it's definitely open to anybody here. All right, let's go into playoff previews here. Almost hitting the hour mark, so um, let's start with the 4 versus 5 seed, Rangers versus Devils. Like you said, I agree with you. This is probably the most exciting coming into it, not just for how the teams are constructed, but also how the chirping is kind of to start in the chat over the past couple of days. So, um, yeah, New York has that great first line, but I think New Jersey has two solid depth lines that, maybe New York has the advantage on the first line, but New Jersey definitely has it on the second. And I think, maybe New Jersey's goaltending is a little bit better. I don't know. Like, what are you seeing in this series?
Um, I'm seeing a game seven.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, the X factor, if we want to do an X factor per series, would be Tibby. Is Tibby going to play defense? Is he going to be available? Um, because if he's not, I think New York wins probably in 6 games. If Tibby plays 3-4 games at defense, I think it's a 7-game series.
Mhm.
Um, I do think New York's first line is better than New Jersey's first line. I think New Jersey's second line is better than New York's second. Um, but I, I don't know if they can steal one from New York's first line. That would be huge. I just, you see these guys saying that they have the two best lines in the league, and I don't see it. Like where? I know Moose Balls is solid, and I can't think off the top of my head who else, but they're solid. They're solid, but I don't see guys on their team taking over anything.
Right, and that yeah, like that's nothing against their two lines. Like they have two great lines that can win a playoff series, but I mean to say that you're better than a Vancouver's top two lines or even, our two top lines, like I just don't think the evidence really supports it. But I mean, best of luck to
Hey,
them, I think. Yeah,
having confidence in chemistry is a huge thing. So,
yeah,
um, it can take you a long way, and it has given them this record. So
yeah.
uh, kudos to them. If I had to, like I said, it's up to if Tibby's playing, but I if I had to take a guess, I would say the Rangers in 6.
Okay. Just to be different, I'm going New Jersey in 7. But yeah, I'm
It's
really excited.
like toss a coin, man.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. 3 versus 6. Minnesota, the top seed, they're taking on Florida. Yeah, I think Minnesota, two kind of shut down deep teams. Um, both teams were ranked fifth and sixth in goals for, so don't really expect some high scoring goal games between these guys. Interesting note about Minnesota, actually, they led in both special teams. Actually, maybe Vancouver if they got better power play goals tonight or more power play goals tonight. I don't know, but their power play 34.4% and their penalty kill 80.7 led the league as of the start of this podcast. So great job by them. If you're Florida, you don't want to be taking any penalties. And what do you think? I think if there's an X factor, I think it's Florida's goaltending. Walshy and my favorite liar might be the best tandem. So if they could steal a series, maybe, but that's going to be a tough task.
Well, Minnesota's, like we said, they got All-Star Bears, the best goalie of the season.
Right.
Um, I think maybe Sando and Sizzle can steal a game or two. Um, this series, I think, everything has to go right for Florida to win. Um, I would say Minnesota in 5 or 6 tops. Um, the X factor is probably going to be probably Sando. I mean,
Yes, and
he
maybe, yeah.
has to because I think Minnesota's biggest weakness is right D, and Sando plays left wing. So um, it'll be interesting to see if he starts taking over the game, how Minnesota is going to adjust. But I just think depth wise and chemistry wise, Minnesota's pretty much got this unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about this series. I mean, I think Minnesota also has a better second line, if too. So, I mean, yeah, even if Florida's able to knock off Minnesota's top line, I think just the depth of Minnesota is able to get them through. But yeah, anything else to add on this series?
No, no.
No. All right, I guess that leads to ours, us and Chicago, the 2 versus 7. We've talked a lot about Chicago earlier in this episode, so I don't know if there's too much to get on, but I think this is going to be a high scoring series. And there's going to be a lot of talent going both ways.
Um, like I said before, I'm scared. I thought that this was probably going to be my personally best chance to win a cup. I've owned and I've came to the semifinals and finals a lot, but I've never gotten over the hump. And now we're playing Chicago in the first round, and I legitimately think we can lose. Um, that being said, I don't think we will. As long as we can get our lines playing and showing up. Not that they've had a problem with it, but um, just as long as we can get our top line, our second line together. I think our second line is pretty much gonna be the X factor against their second line. Um, It'll depend on availability for us because I know Floyd and Josh have conflicting league issues. So if we're not able to line match how I want, that could be a big deal. But um, I still think our second line can maybe steal a game from their first line, and then that would be really bad for them. Um, it'll depend, but they do have the star power and they do have the depth now to give us a scare. I could easily see this going 7 games, but if I had to predict, I would say we would win in 6.
All right, yeah, yeah. I don't want to touch too much on it. I don't want to give too much bulletin board material for Chicago, but I think I'm really excited for the series. So yeah, I think we match up well against them, and I think they think the same about us. So I'm looking forward to it next week. Final series, Vancouver, Colorado. I think this is the series that has the best chance for a sweep, just based on talent alone. Just Vancouver just looks way too strong, top to bottom, for Colorado to handle. Yeah, what do you think?
Um, I think I kind of touched on this when we were going over the teams accidentally, but this is another one where literally everything has to go right for Colorado to win. Um, I think they could probably. I think if I had to guess the series, it would be 4-1. Um, but Iggy, Loyal, Uzi, Natsu, and I think Saquon is their top line. They're really Iggy's going to have to carry hard. I don't think he can. It's too much to overcome. Um, but you never know. Hockey's hockey, right? And EA is EA. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe a couple bounces go their way and they steal one or two, but Vancouver just is very powerful team. So that'll be an interesting one too. But I mean, yeah, that's all I got on the playoff series.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think our team personally, we've just been saying let's get the playoffs for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
Um, and I think despite all the BS that's been going on and people complaining and whatnot, I do think this has a chance to be like the biggest, the most parity playoffs ever in the league. Um, and try to look at things positively. Let's all give each other some respect because we do have other leagues and stuff. I know. I don't personally, if like as an owner, I'm gonna give a little bit more leniency to other owners if they're in contact with me. Like, hey, I got a guy in LG or I got a guy here. Like, Um, I'm not gonna call penalties and forfeits on teams if they're a couple minutes late. Like, I'd rather just play the series out because you always want that reciprocation if you're having guys be late. But
yeah,
I just hope teams give each other the respect because I don't see any of these teams left. Everyone's done a good job. No one's an idiot. So um, I just want to have a good, fair playoffs where everyone follows the rules and gives each other some leniency on times because we all know through the whole season with LG and with esports and crap that you're going to need some leniency on time.
yeah. And as you said, I think the problems that have happened in this league have been from the teams that are no longer existing. I think the 10 that are still around and the 8 that will be still around going into next week's playoffs have been nothing but, good ownership and great management and have got their teams this far. So, you know, like you said, the parity has been great this year. And I think this playoff series, there's going to be some interesting fireworks. There's going to be some upsets, I think. So I'm really looking forward to next week.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see 2 or 3 lower seeds win this first round.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I think that's all we got. Do you got anything to add before we wrap up here?
Um, I don't think so. Let me just double check, see if I got any DMs from anybody about anything in particular. Um, I don't think we're gonna really have time to do another. Maybe we can do one before the finals, do
Yeah.
like an in-depth thing. But I don't know if our schedules are gonna align. But if we don't have time to do one, I do want to, if anyone is still watching at this point, but um, signups are open for next season. Um, ownership signups are open. Um, I do want people to, take it seriously as far as ownership signups if you sign up, because you saw if people aren't super committed, what happened with those teams. Um, I know there was a lot of crap that happened this season, and staff is always like, "Oh, we'll get better, we'll get better." But there's going to actually be some. I think there's going to be some big changes in staff this off season that can actually do something. At least that's what I've been told. So we'll see how that goes. IOHL it's pretty much the only league that I can play in full time, so I'm committed to it. I do still enjoy it despite all the crap that's going on, and I want it to succeed. So I do want to encourage people to sign up to own and to play because I think this season, despite all of the stuff that happened, the teams that are left, like it's been great as far as the parity.
Very well said. Well, I think that's going to do it for us, and we wish everybody luck in the playoffs. Man, I'm really excited for it. But anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and that's it for us.